I hereby call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the Sunderland Select Board. The time is 6:33 p.m. Our first order of business tonight will be to approve the minutes from the 6/2/25 meeting.
I motion we approve the minutes of 6/2/25.
Second.
All right, a motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0. Thank you. All right, our first order of new business is a sick bank request determination review.
Well, we had a personnel board meeting again tonight. And after careful review by the treasurer and the employee and myself, we understand where all the money is, all the hours have been applied from the sick bank. And going into this next payroll, there's a balance of 22 hours, which ironically is with their increased workload. Anyway, it's working out perfectly, and the employee is hoping to return to full-time. So at this point, we are coming to the close of this employee's request without making a further one tonight.
Okay.
The personnel board will be coming back with a lot of good thinking and ideas about revisions that would improve the policy, having used it closely in the last 2 months.
Yep. And would those revisions be something we would want to have be effective for July 1st for the new year, or?
I don't think they'll be
that
for July 1st,
Okay.
because,
We're pretty close to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
and then the other thing with this employee, it would be the new year starts July 1st, so all of her, even if she did need more time,
Right. Her own bank is being.
her own bank is replenished, so,
Gotcha.
um,
So it sounds to me like this is good news that we're being able to
Yes.
get them over the finish line without having to dip further into the bank, so. Thank you
Yes.
for the hard work on that and making sure that all of those numbers lined up perfectly. Is there any discussion from the board on this or? Anything from Crystal?
no, there's a lot to determine, what's the right amount of time to get,
Yep.
to do. Increasing possibly what people can contribute, there's a lot of things we're throwing around, and hopefully we can, come to a consensus soon and. Just have it much better defined going forward. This is only the second time it's been used in probably 10 years, so it's a tough one, it doesn't get. The policy doesn't get exercised enough to tighten it up until.
Yeah, this really is our, our in practice run that we're pretty glad to go. I appreciate all the work from the committee on that, please.
Yes,
keep us
the
apprised
board
of
has
revisions.
been meeting frequently and doing a lot of work.
I really appreciate all that, at the end of the day, this is about doing right by our employees.
Correct.
And making sure that our employees have the support they need, so.
Yeah.
I can't think of a more valuable thing to do with our time. All right, I'm assuming you don't need any kind of voting or anything like that, we're just informational.
No.
Beautiful. All right, next up is update on David Memorial Library project. That for you or?
Would you like me to start?
No, go ahead, we're just here to hear what's happening.
Okay.
Where you're at, where we're at.
So. After you all know that we went out and to town meeting and secured all the funding for the project, over $500,000 in total. And then we received information from the architect that we had concerns about the amount of the cost of the repair is more than a third of the cost of the value of the building. The building is valued at $750,000. So when the high bid came in, if we had been aware of the accessibility requirement comes into full play by the state agency. And it is not allowing us to spend more than a third on the repair of a building
without,
making the building accessible.
There's two thresholds, there's the 30% and then there's a code
the nature of the work is actually exempted. But if you exceed the 30%. The exemption holds until you get to 500, so you had a problem on 2 fronts, right?
On the 1/3, being over 1/3 and being over 500. So I had an idea that I shared with Lauren. There had been some talk of a local mason who is very talented and has done a lot of historical work in town. And so I reached out to him, Paul Corpita, and we have a meeting scheduled still for Thursday, to review his questions about the project and to find out if there's a possibility of bringing him in to do the project. And we would hire him potentially as an employee with his crew. All this has to be worked out. It's just a concept at this point. So I'm working it through with Paul and with Lauren and with the architect to find out if it's feasible. I've worked with Megan Arquin as CPC chair to be sure that if this does come together and seem like it will work for everyone, to make sure it worked for them. At first, they were confusing if it's just a regular standing employee that we have on staff, they wouldn't allow it. But because the staff is being brought in, and it could be either as an employee or it just seemed the most clear-cut way to do it would be as an employee, not going back out through a bidding process, trying to cut off some of the markups and overheads that a company might have that we could handle internally. So potentially the cost would be greatly reduced through this method. It all depends on the meeting with Paul and the architect.
So you'd hire him as like a seasonal employee or something?
Correct, temporary, seasonable for like around 3 months.
Couple of questions, what's the time period for the 30%? Is it 5 years, 10 years, something like that? Do you remember?
It's 3, I think it's 3 years.
It's cumulative over a certain number of years, like you can't do like a little bit this year and a little bit next year and not have it add up, but I will stress that masonry is actually an exempted category.
Mhm.
It's just, we kind of fell into a bad lane because of the total cost.
Okay. So that was sort of my leading question, is can we
Stretch
stage this
it out,
project out
yeah.
over a number of years? It sounds like we have to stage out for such a large period.
That's around
They don't like you to borrow.
And I guess,
And
the-
if we
It
were,
really has to do with the building permit, like the amount shown on the.
okay, that makes sense. And I guess my other question is, what would it cost to actually bring up to ADA standards? Like, would that be 1 million? Would it be 2 million? Would it be?
to learn
half,
that,
or-
we'd have to start with a feasibility study.
Okay,
Which Lauren reached out and got a quote for a ADA feasibility study.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually the next thing that we wanna do for this building is look into, it's just, you wanna get your ducks in a row.
right. Yeah,
And
I'm not thinking necessarily as like a plan A, but sort of if we can't find some other way of doing it, our choices are either nothing or find some other plan. So I'm just curious if we can get an idea of whether it's going from 500 to, again, 1 million, or 500 to 700, or 500 to 2.5 million. And also, given that the valuation of the building itself is only 700,000, there's certain due diligence we have to do to not put $5 million into a building that will be worth 2 million when we're done. So there's a lot of questions there on that.
In the ADA, there would probably be multiple answers depending what you would open up. This building there are 4 egresses in that tiny building, and none of them are on the same plane. They're staggered, none of them are on ground level either. So it's so problematic if you would bring in a new door, and you also have to have bathrooms. Is there
The
a bathroom?
bathrooms are in the basement, right?
So historic buildings often have exceptions. I mean, any historical
Yeah.
museum you've been in, you have to go upstairs. They don't have elevators. So we're pretty confident that and we would be allowed an exception. That said, we want some kind of accessibility. So what we're thinking maybe the compromise solution would be accessing to that lower level, making that bathroom larger and accessible. It's just it's like 4 steps down from ground level to get in, and then we would have programs at that level, and then, bring historical artifacts down if people were needing to see things that they couldn't. I think that's what we're guessing, and that wouldn't, I mean, full accessibility is just completely.
Yeah.
It's kind of unrealistic
It's unrealistic.
for that,
Yeah.
but. It's not something that you wanna be, it's something that I think we wanna take, the right way to do it is to study it, to take the lead, to have the right solution, to ask for the, what's it called?
Waiver,
Exception, there's a term, I'll think of it. So you want, you wanna get that in a row. We'd be, if we start this, if we do this work at too high of a number, we're gonna get pushed into that. With possibly negative consequences, so we wanna do the right thing, but we gotta do it in a way that makes sense.
And those stairs are pretty narrow going down to where the bathroom, that lower level, right?
They're also like sort of they're monumental, I mean, there's just a lot, you have to have
Yeah.
someone really do a good study of the
Yeah.
options, and that is not something that's gonna take, 5 minutes or 5.
Oh, no, it's
Yeah.
not, I agree.
It's, it's gotta be done right, so,
it's also a very small lot.
it's also a very small lot.
And I think the other concern was if we were just to move ahead with a project as that we funded, we could lose access by volunteers to the building and only paid employees could go into the building. So we want to be careful that we do everything within the rules and make sure that we're not creating, a problem for ourselves down the line. We want to be able to look at the ADA very carefully. So as we have more conversation about potentially moving forward, I will keep you guys updated, working with Lauren. She'll be at the meeting and, we'll see how it goes.
The council's all on board with it.
Yeah,
Great,
he brought in another attorney to look at the specialized law.
yeah, I guess. You don't need much other than just keep updated on that, I appreciate both you and also the commission to doing what you're doing to make sure this happens. But work that needs to get done, and of course, we wanna be within compliance of ADA and whatnot, so.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Any other questions from the board over here? On that one? All right. Next up, review letter to Hadley Bridge Grant. This is the letter we had asked you to put together for the
Yes.
request of Hadley.
I apologize, it's on my computer.
Mhm.
If I could send it to you after the meeting. I got hung up today unexpectedly.
Perfect, yeah, just send it to us, we'll look it over and, we make a motion to approve it contingent on sign off via email.
And your edits, I will take your
Yeah,
edits.
so at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the letter, the pending letter, with the condition that if we have edits or whatnot, we can do so, but the approval will be given via email.
Motion to approve via email with possible edits.
Second,
Perfect, we have a motion made and seconded, all those in favor?
I,
Aye, 3-0. All right, we have a 1-day liquor license request.
I apologize on this one. It was, Mel came running in and said, we have a liquor license, put it on the agenda, and then it disappeared.
Gotcha.
So we got it on the agenda. We don't
Well,
have
we'd
a
rather have
person to back it
Something
up.
on there that we don't need than something not on there that we do, so we'll take it.
I agree with that.
That was my reasoning, so.
All right, so we also have the, next up is the review of the South County Senior Center 3-town updated MOU. I saw the email, I saw the document in our SharePoint, and I see a couple of lines that were highlighted. Was there a change to that, or that all seemed fine to me? I didn't have
Well,
it.
they changed the percentages, and actually I did, thinking about it after, so I were talking about it, I was on So kind of go through, but they went through and they made the change, they would change the percentages based on population more, but I was thinking about it afterwards. And I was thinking, we have more population, but we probably have fewer seniors. So I didn't know if we want, do you know what I mean?
What was the
Wording said
change?
senior population, over 60 population based on the survey, based on the.
Do we have to?
Census?
Yeah, so I believe it's already
It's already got it.
based on 65 or 60.
Yeah, if it's got that, then I'm fully on board.
Yeah.
What is Sunderland?
Currently,
If we would-
25, 25, 50.
Yeah, and we're gonna 28, 18, 50 something, or I forget the numbers change a little bit.
So. Again,
Yeah, go ahead.
picking off the top of my head here. I don't know if this is the right time to make those changes when we don't know where potentially the senior center would be.
Cause the use could change based on where it is. Yeah, it's probably, although I wonder when it was the way it was before. And I don't think it's been changed in, decade.
Correct.
But
Correct.
it could have gone from 25 to 28 where it is now. Because it's in Sunderland, right?
Yeah, and probably would see higher use anyway, so,
Which is a fair question about whether it should be solely based on population in the town, or should be a combination of population and usage.
yeah, and I don't know, I guess I don't have a sense of the urgency, I should do, I know that they're looking at some things.
So, and again, how does the school go? Has nothing to do with the population of the town,
It's the kids.
Strictly the kids.
it's the kids.
Yeah.
So. Again, I'm not saying that that's not the right way to go,
Yeah.
but
we've
not
talked-
having been part of those conversations.
No, I know,
Or how
no, I
they came
understand.
up, I'm not
understand.
sure.
I understand,
So we meet on the 30th. I think they needed it by July 1st.
okay, so
Yeah.
maybe we reach back and,
I guess another question I have on that is, we budgeted based on the current
yeah,
ratios.
Right.
So we really don't have that money for this year, so one way or
Right.
another, we're paying 25 this year because that's what we budgeted and that's what we were told. So if they want this to go into effect, it's going to affect not this July, it's going to affect next July. Because we don't have the extra 3% to give them, and they didn't tell us ahead of time, that was a budget item that they didn't put in for us, saying, hey, we need 20, an extra 3%,
so
so.
this fiscal
That
27.
would be my big pushback, is we would need to be for year 27, not for 26.
Okay, I mean, I don't want the board, I don't think they're meeting ahead of that schedule, it's the only thing. Well, we could at least, I could talk to Jennifer, get some feedback,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
give her some stuff back.
Yeah, and I mean. Obviously. If your percentage is going down,
Yeah, you don't care.
it's
about
not a
it.
budget issue.
Good deal.
If
yeah.
your percentage is staying the same, it's not a budget issue.
But if it's going up by 3%, we need to be able to figure out.
We
where
need to
it's
have the
coming
money.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll ask questions. I'll give it to Becky, and we can talk about this.
Yeah, so
And
South Deerfields was staying the same,
I think they went up a little bit, like,
It sounds like we
Started at-
went down from 25, that was 19 or something like that, we took on
Yeah.
3%.
We went 3.
Took on another 3% also.
and we
Okay.
went down like 7, so the Deerfield must
Yeah.
have gone up a little bit.
yeah,
So they'll probably ask some questions.
Yeah.
yes, I'm sure
I mean, big picture, if our share should be higher based on numbers, great, like that's fair, no problem, it just needs to,
Happen
know where we're coming
every
from,
year.
and also, it needs to be done in a time where we can.
Make adjustments.
Adjustment to it, but okay, so. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Next up, we have select board review for annual appointment list for elected and appointed employees and volunteers in town. Didn't we do this last time?
the final report, is coming to you, but it's coming on the 30th because we did not get a printout
they,
from.
yeah, there were a couple people's
We-
names
we
that were,
changed it.
Yeah.
yeah. We heard the vast majority of
Yeah.
it, there were just a couple
Okay.
that were like in question.
So we're gonna push this one off until next time then?
Yes,
Beautiful.
and I wanted to let you know that Joe Comerford is scheduled to come to the 30th meeting,
Wonderful.
select board, and she'll talk in the beginning of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. It'll be lovely to see her. All right, next up is fire department contract repair work with Carl Excavating, not updated.
The amount was 5,400, not 540. So I wanted to come back and report that to you. The money is already budgeted. It's coming out of the building, a public safety complex line item. So the money's already been allocated and scheduled.
Do you need a vote from us on that, or just one to let us know?
I wanted to let you know
Okay.
because I was off by a factor.
Yeah.
It's quite large.
All right, but as long as there's no budget concern, it's money that's already there, it's just a matter of a mistake on our end, that's fine. Any questions from the board? No? Wonderful,
And this one too, I'm putting off to next week.
The
No
capital?
apology. Yes,
okay.
yes.
And that, just to make sure I'm on the same page, that's the vote to increase to 2.5% on the capital, or to collect the
We've
increased
taken,
amount.
yeah, and we've taken the vote to increase it by 2.5. I just wanted you to see the proportionment. That will go on the recap sheet.
Great, and that's the important part, is we're getting on the recap.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, beautiful, so we'll talk about that more next time then. All right, that's all of our new business. We don't have any old business here today, so we'll go to select board updates. Crystal, do you have anything for us tonight?
I do not.
Dan?
I went to the select board, training,
Mhm.
first, like, early training, and I actually learned more the second time. The first time, it's just so much, and there was like 1,000 questions about open meeting law. And then the other thing, is a lot about budget, but it was really good, and I would recommend it, even if you've already been, it's worth going to again, just because there's so many things that, so many like detailed questions about the open meeting, oh my gosh. But the one takeaway I had that I got confirmed is that our minutes are supposed to have everything in them. All is like a packet with anything that we talk
Oh,
about,
all the documents?
everything's supposed to be
Okay.
built in, that's just, that's one thing I took away, but. So the agenda obviously doesn't, because you don't know exactly what you're gonna get. You may get something during the meeting, but all of it needs to be in the backside, so.
So any correspondence that was
Correspondence,
discussed, like that
document.
MOU.
Yeah.
All that should be
Yeah,
stapled
Yeah,
or
and it's good.
archived with
It's a good record for everything,
minutes.
but.
Which makes sense, I mean, we do have that archived in the
Yeah.
SharePoint, but that's not accessible to the public, and it sounds
Right.
like that should be done, so
Yeah.
I appreciate
That
that.
was my takeaway.
Yeah, I went to that one my first year and, was so lost. So lost, I'm sure I would get a lot more away from it now also, so I'll be.
Yeah, it was good to go do it again.
Yeah. I don't know, I don't have anything major, just, wanna thank everyone who showed Franklin Town Pride, not last Saturday, but Saturday before. It rained, it was horrible weather, but we still had thousands of people, it was lovely, so, thank you very much for that. I don't have anything else. Becky, do you have any 10-minute updates for us?
Wednesday, I was gonna say mention Wednesday.
I'll let, Dan.
Wednesday, I know it's a little bit short notice, and as you probably, hopefully you got a notice, and we're getting it all around, but Wednesday night, Jim's gonna come back, we're just gonna do kind of a. Just kind of a, what do you call it, start a meeting.
Yeah, it's
To
an
talk about
informational
informational
session.
session to talk about, the report. He's working on it feverishly, and he's gonna have a draft. He's gonna present it, it's all virtual,
Mhm.
and then basically we'll ship it out to everybody, everyone gets a week to weigh in on it, cause we have June 30th deadline. So.
And I'm sorry, I hadn't sent that new one to you. I will get that out tomorrow, that
Great,
with
Yeah,
the
if you
Zoom.
tell him that's great, you'll get the
I
draft
will
anyway.
my best, but
Okay,
I no guarantees.
I understand, and I'm sorry, it's rushed at the end, it's just.
No, I understand.
What time is it on Wednesday?
6 o'clock.
6.
6 o'clock Wednesday Zoom, and it's not Zoom, it's what's your Microsoft Teams.
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 Yeah,
And
I'll-
the other 4 towns have been invited.
Yeah,
Other 3
DOT,
towns.
COG, I've said it's going all right.
So it's gonna be in person
No,
and
no, just on.
strictly Teams.
Only on Teams.
That actually makes it a lot easier for me to make that work, so
Yeah.
I will try to make it work.
And if we're together, we just gotta be careful of the open meeting, we can't.
Yeah.
If you meet in person,
We just listen.
but it'll be here, right? No, it's all in person.
It's all
It's all in
It's
person.
all virtual, yeah, it's all on that.
Yeah, I mean, I would just reserve my questions for later, and I would ask them later, so that we don't
Yeah.
step on toes or whatever.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
beautiful, thank you. Do you have anything for?
That's the big thing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, I don't see any, one in person or anyone in our waiting room or online. No executive session tonight. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we motion made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, do nothing, the time is 6:58.